Long straighting shot. The biggest fear of every pool player, right? But there is actually a super easy fix. I'm gonna share exactly what you need to do, along with a bunch of very useful things that instantly help me to stop missing those annoying straighting shots. It often happens that we don't feel comfortable at the table, and we can easily fix it if we step into the shot along the shooting line. First thing you need to do is finding your shooting line, and because we face perfect straighting shot, then this line is going perfectly through corner pocket, ghost ball, object ball and the cue ball. In the next step, you need to extend this line onto the floor, according to which we should set our body at the table. You should set your rear foot on this line, and to find correct distance from the table, you need to just place your cue on the table right in front of the cue ball, while holding it with your grip hands. Then you should adjust position of your rear foot in relation to your grip hand in such a way that grip is placed slightly in front and closer to the table. You need to set your second foot, and you should definitely move it forward, however not along shooting line but slightly to the outside. Positions of your feet are extremely important and have huge impact on your final feeling at the table. If you put your front foot too close to the shooting line, then stability of your body suffers. On the other hand, if we set it too far from the shooting line, then our body will be very tense and we won't feel comfortable at the table, which is extremely important when we talk about straighting shots. Bridge length plays a huge role in all types of shots, but surprisingly, this time it is even more important. We can spot a quite visible difference when we make a comparison in terms of unintentional side spin. If we use short bridge and try to move grip hand to the left and right, then we can see how much changes position of the Q-tip. On the other hand, if we lengthen bridge and try to make same movements to the sides, then we can spot a difference. Comparing both scenarios, we can clearly see that with longer bridge, Q-tip moves to the side much more, and this could mean that a shorter bridge will be much better choice, because we will increase the accuracy on the cue ball, but in the case of long straighting shots, it works a bit differently. When we try to use short bridge around 4 inches, then this length will highly limit us to generate a smooth transition between backward and forward motion of cue. On the other hand, extending the bridge length up to 15 inches may generate problems with accuracy, which is extremely important when we talk about long straighting shots. So the key will be to adjust our bridge length, which means that 8 inches should give you a comfortable compromise and allow you to produce straight motion of cue to the very end of a shot and deliver those straighting shots with much better quality. Unintentional side spin is a huge nightmare for not only amateurs, but even more experienced players, and this is definitely the main reason that we are still missing those long straighting shots. Our goal is to deliver strokes straight to the end, and many players struggle with common mistake called tip left or tip right, depending on which hand we use to hold a cue stick. Because I am right-handed, then my cue right before hitting the cue ball starts going slightly to the left, which in many cases can result with wrong contact points. But the good news is that there is super easy fix, but you need to look closer on motion of your wrist and elbow. In the ideal case, our elbows should be perfectly in line with our cue, and very often players rotate this position to the inside or outside. On the other hand, if we look closer on our wrist, then it also should move perfectly in same line with our elbow. Each type of rotation, especially to the inside, will cause our Q-tip to start going slightly to the left. Study pros and you will see how it should work. Their bodies, heads, elbows and wrists are aligned perfectly along the shooting line, and this is the crucial key why they are able to shoot so straight, with huge consistency.
That's why you put a big stroke on it, don't be fooled. What a shot.
Let's assume that you were able to execute a perfect straight-in shot, but what do you actually do right before you shoot? Many players when make a pre-strokes prefer to look at the cue ball last, which actually makes sense because they want to make sure they hit the cue ball at the right point. But on the other hand, there is a group of players which prefer to look at the object ball last, which also makes sense because they want to know where they are shooting the cue ball. However, which is right and which is wrong? One of the best pool players Jason's show is a perfect example of player who looks at the cue ball last.
I'm looking at the one, right? Okay. Right now I'll find my spot. When I get down, yeah, my eyes are on the object ball, now it's on the cue ball. Now object, now cue ball. The cue ball always last.
But on the other hand, I can spot completely different opinion of top snooker player Neil Robertson, who looks at the object ball last.
Brett, actually, funnily enough, he actually coached me out of it to look at the object ball when I was striking the ball.
Okay.
But you were...
I'm cue ball. I'm cue ball.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So as you can see, there are completely different opinions and the final decision depends on your individual preferences. When you go down, your eyes are still on the object ball, but when you make a pre-strokes, then your eyes change position once to the object ball and once to the cue ball. However, the most important step comes when you make a short pause right before you take a shot. When you make a backstroke, then your eyes need to focus on the one object, and in my case it is cue ball, which helps me deliver straight motion of cue stick to the very end of a shot. How is it for you? Let me know in the comments. Okay, now let's move on to our next important thing, which made me start executing those straight-in shots with much better quality. Harder hits significantly affects physics of the cue ball, which plays a huge role especially when we apply unintended side spin. Short distance straight-in shot much more forgiving any stroke errors, which can be very deceptive and give us an erroneous image of reality. Which is also very interesting, too soft hit also generates a big problem, because any unintentional side spin will cause the cue ball to curve, so there is also quite high risk of miss. So the key is being able to find a compromise between those two cases, because when we are hitting not too soft and not too hard, then we are exactly in the sweet spot, which allows the cue ball to stay very close to the initial line. Soft hit might be very useful, especially when we have to shoot down the rail, where every single stroke error, even the smallest one, may result with missed shot. Using this technique, we are able to make that ball, even if we didn't hit it very well.